Good evening. Our top focus is Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the United States. In fact, as we speak, the PM is on his way to the US for the first visit since Donald Trump's re-election as the 47th president of USA. The high-stakes meeting is set to strengthen India-US ties, with talks focusing on trade, defense and global security. The issue of tariffs and deportations is also likely to come up. Modi's visit comes at a pivotal moment as both nations navigate a shifting geopolitical landscape. What will the partnership redefine and what will be the future of global alliances? My colleague and our senior managing editor, Nikunj Garg, is in Washington at the moment. Nikunj, I believe there is lots in store over the next 12 hours.
Well, absolutely. It's a short visit, but it's a visit of consequence. Many people have described this relationship between these two democracies as the most consequential relationship of the emerging times. And to discuss all of that, I am joined by Michael Kugelman. He is a fellow at the Wilson Center, specializes in South Asia. Michael, welcome to NDTV, as always. Let me begin by asking you that many people now think that this relationship is fast moving beyond the pale of bilateralism, and it is now acting as a global stabilizing force and a force that is for global good. Would you agree with that summation?
Well, I think so. I mean, there's been exponential growth in this relationship really for the last few decades, and that includes during the first Trump administration. And I think that there might be a bit of uncertainty as to the direction of U.S. foreign policy with our new president. But I think when it comes to India and the relationship with New Delhi, I think that it's very easy to predict where it's going to go. It's going to be in a good place. There certainly will be challenges, but I do think it's going to be in a good place. And to your point about it being for the global good, yes. I mean, to take one example, I think you look at both President Trump and Prime Minister Modi as leaders that really want to bring an end to wars, and particularly the war in Ukraine. Trump and Modi have taken the same position on this issue for quite some time, and that might be something that they speak about when Prime Minister Modi is here. But I think that this is a relationship that entails not only bilateral partnership, but also cooperation in third countries and also multilaterally, whether you're talking about the Indo-Pacific Quad or other groupings like that.
And the fact remains that both the leaders also share a very good, many would say very high-end personal chemistry. President Trump has traveled to India, has traveled to Ahmedabad particularly, and during his first stint only, the status of this relationship was elevated to a global strategic partnership. And do you think that the entire gamut of this relationship is now fast moving into a place where no area is beyond cooperation? Earlier, initially, and this is an hindrance we have seen all over the world. The tech transfer was an issue, high-end technology transfer was a challenge. But do you think that this relationship is now transcending all those barriers and can actually move into a place where you may not call it a free trade agreement, but a much more smoother transaction of goods, services, and products can take place?
Yeah, I mean, I think that New Delhi has been very savvy as to how it's approached this issue of tariff risks from the Trump administration. Right away, when Trump took office, New Delhi had signaled its willingness to reduce some tariffs, which it's done. And so I think that means that Prime Minister Modi is not going to find himself in an uncomfortable position where President Trump asked for there to be significant levels of tariff reductions right away. And I do think that what could be seen as a challenge might be an opportunity for these two leaders. I do think there's a good chance that Prime Minister Modi might make a pitch to President Trump that there be a negotiation, not necessarily during this visit, but in the coming days and weeks, a negotiation towards some type of deal, not an FTA, it might be premature to talk about that, but an economic partnership accord perhaps, that would enable both countries to lower their tariffs. There's a lot of trust and goodwill in this relationship right now, so I think that might be a realistic thing to look at. And we've seen India in recent years being more comfortable about pursuing trade deals, and I think the Trump administration would be a willing interlocutor, particularly compared to the Biden administration, which had imposed a number of conditions, environmental, labor, on any type of new trade deal. I don't think you're going to see that with the Trump administration. So there might be an opportunity here to pursue some type of trade deal short of an FTA.
And it's interesting you use words like trust and goodwill. And we have always said that India has always maintained that our relationships are not transactional so much in nature. Of course, in diplomacy and in international play, you always would want to put your nation's interests first. That's typical of every country and every geography, so to say. But our relationships are generally seeped into trust, seeped in trust, and seeped into goodwill. Those are the qualities that we take quite seriously as a nation of Mahatma Gandhi. So the fact of the matter is that going forward also, those elements will play a crucial role between India and Washington and India and the world generally speaking. Do you think that that the impact and the force for being the global good is something that that's going to drive this relationship, a relationship and a bonhomie between the democracies and nearly half of the world's population living under these two democratic regimes?
Right. I mean, I think that, we hear the word transactional a lot, and some see that as having a negative connotation, but it doesn't have to. Even the deepest, most strategic partnerships, like the U.S.-India relationship, have transactional sides. And, when Modi and Trump meet, there's going to be some requests coming from both sides, I'm quite sure. That's just how diplomacy works. But, I think that the relationship did experience some tough times during the latter years of the Biden administration, particularly as there was unhappiness in New Delhi about a number of positions that the Biden administration took on issues related to India, whether you're talking about policies in Bangladesh or whether you're talking about approaches to the issue of Khalistan or what have you. And I think that there might be an opportunity for a fresh start with the Trump administration, just because I think there will be a bit of a different approach, one focused much more on interest-based diplomacy, not getting bogged down in values-based issues, whether you're talking about internal matters like human rights. I don't think that's going to be something that this administration is really focused on. So I think that'll clear the path for even more cooperation. But, I don't want to sugarcoat things. I mean, there will be challenges for the relationship moving forward.
Well, of course, any relationship of this magnitude, you're talking about almost 1/4 of the humanity on both sides put together, and any relationship of this magnitude will have its challenges.
Right.
It can never be a relationship which is free of all kinds of challenges. But the capacity and the willingness of both sides to tide over, to jump over those barriers and hurdles has been immense, and they have displayed it in the past.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you look at, for example, defense cooperation, that, India, of course, is not a part of the alliance system as defined by the U.S., but one could argue that, India is essentially a de facto ally of the United States, given just how far they've come with defense cooperation, particularly military-to-military cooperation. And, you look at areas that previously had been a point of tensions, trade, for example, even tech, that's moved forward in a big way, thanks to ISET. And I think that's something that this administration will be keen to continue. So yeah, I mean, there's going to be tricky moments, and I think the issue of Iran perhaps looms large with this recent presidential directive that essentially suggests that those doing business with Iran and Chabahar may not get a waiver on sanctions. Clearly a concerning issue for India. That's just one example. But I think if you look at the full scope, if you look at how this partnership has evolved, it's a multifaceted partnership. It's not limited to just one or two things. And it's not just a strategic partnership focused on countering China. It goes beyond that. You have higher education collaborations. You have cooperation in various aspects of energy. And I think that's going to be a big focus of the discussions here this week. So, I'm optimistic about the relationship. One always has to, sort of put out that caveat that President Trump can be unpredictable, so one doesn't want to make too strong a prediction about how things are going to work out. But I feel quite confident in saying that this relationship will likely be one of the most robust U.S. bilateral partnerships moving forward over the next few years.
Well, caveating is important, but I am yet to meet a man in the Washington, on the Capitol Hill, and everywhere else in this country who is not optimistic about the future of the Indo-US relationship. With those words, back to you, Rika, in the studios.